Hi, welcome to Top Whistle, the Irish Whistle Review Show. On this episode, I'm reviewing the Waltons Whistle in the key of D. It's made of brass and has a plastic head, pretty much the same way as a Generation whistle is made. This whistle will set you back around £7.69, and if you wish to buy one for yourself, then yes, there'll be a link in the description box below for you as usual to browse. It is to Hobgoblin.com, who specialise in traditional folk music and instruments. I buy my music from them, along with my musical instruments, which I review avidly for this show, and I would highly recommend them to anyone. And the best shop in my view is the one they have in Birmingham. They have a chain of other stores around the UK, but for me, being a local in Birmingham, that place is the best. Not out of personal bias, of course, but never mind. And with all that I've mentioned, is this whistle any good? We're about to find out. After playing this whistle, I have to say the good things are about it. It's in tune, it has a mellow tone to it with a bit of chiff, and also it's pretty much cheap and cost effective, so it's not going to burn a hole in your pocket as opposed to buying a really high-end whistle that will cost you a few hundred. And I found that with regards to the responsive test, it was quite good for quick changes between fast and slow melodies and vice versa, and the same can be said about it when achieving high to low octaves. It's maintenance free, the hole sizing and placement was just right, and I found that there was no clogging issues with the instrument at all, so you could pretty much play this non-stop for an hour without having to need to clear the mouthpiece or anything, which I think was pretty good in the whistle's favour. And also when it came to achieving the C natural notes, there was no issues at all, and I found as well that the wind resistance test wise it was pretty decent when it came to the low to mid-range winds. So if you're a busker, this could be a potential busking whistle, and it can be used for busking. And with the volume itself being mid-range, I definitely would describe it being about a 5 to 4.5 out of 10. That's how mid-range it is. It's not like over 6 or under, so I'd say 4.5 to 5 out of 10 for volume is just right. For those who want to be buskers, you can just about be heard. Now, when it came to the bad points of the whistle, I have to say that when it came to the clumsy test, fortunately I haven't been able to practice throwing it about, but what I will say is because of the cylindrical ball being quite thin, you know, this is one whistle you just don't want to throw around or drop, so it has potential to be damaged if you're that silly and clumsy and have kids who don't care much for instruments. So this is probably not for clumsy users or people who have the extreme young kids who just don't care much for these things. Now, when it came to being tunable, obviously you can't tune the whistle at all, so that is one thing that goes against the whistle. So if you're someone who wants to achieve the concert pitch, that facility isn't there unless you're one of these people who knows what you're doing, knows how to tweak and to do some jiggery pokery with it. So for those who are not, then and you don't know what you're doing, this is not the whistle for you. Just get a whistle that is tunable if you're that fussy about it. I'm not, but there are some who are. So moving on to other bad points, I didn't find that it was loud enough for loud environments. So if you're a professional session player who wants to be heard in a band, in a bar, you won't be heard by any means. This is that mid-range. You will not be heard through the crowd or through the other band players playing. And I found one thing I will say that does go against the whistle is, despite the fact that I say most of the time it's in tune with a bit of chip, I did find there were moments where, though it was not common, it did have moments where I felt it sounded at times slightly scratchy, but not by much, to be fair to it. Because I found when I did the warming up with the whistle and preparing it before play, I found it helped reduce the amount of times I had scratchy tones with it. So if you're prepared to give the a quick blow before you play, then I think you stand a decent chance of getting a few decent notes out of this one. After weighing the good and the bad points of the instrument, I've decided to score the Waltons Whistle in the key of D a respectable 6.5 out of 10. It's definitely a whistle that I would highly recommend for, say, novice players who wish to buy their first whistle to practice on, to maybe even buskers who wish to buy a cost-effective whistle to perform to passers-by with that doesn't basically cost too much to get and break the bank. And I definitely would say that the Walton whistle as a whole is definitely a slightly better brand than that of a Generation Whistles, though I still highly recommend you still try before you buy, because the score of 6.5 out of 10 actually applies to this individual whistle, not to every Walton's whistle as a whole. So always try before you buy with any brand of low-end, low-cost whistles, because they are notorious for having varying qualities. But to be fair to Waltons, I'll give them credit where it's due. With this whistle, I think a 6.5 out of 10 is a respectable score for this individual whistle. And on that note, I do hope you've enjoyed the show. There are more episodes in the pipeline, and if you wish to see more, by all means, do hit the subscribe button. And also, I'm a musician that's available for hire for special events, and you can hire my services on www.davidcartmellpianist.com. Also, you can follow me on social media like Facebook. And of course, if you wish to support my channel further, you can also make a donation to my channel on Ko-fi, the proceeds of which all go towards whistles for me to buy and to review for you on future episodes. And speaking of future episodes, if you wish for me to review a whistle of your choice, by all means, just simply leave a comment in the comment box below. And on that note, I look forward to seeing you again next time. Goodbye.